We were born where the morning hesitates, where the sun looks down and sighs before touching our roofs. Tin sheets shivered in the wind, walls carried the memory of many hands, and floors knew our footsteps by heart. Poverty was not a stranger. It slept beside us, ate from the same cracked plates, and wrapped itself around our dreams. Our names were spoken carefully, as if letters were expensive and silence was safer. We learned early how hunger sounds at night, how it knocks softly first, then harder, until sleep gives up. Love came without asking permission. It arrived barefoot, with empty pockets and a brave smile. We loved with borrowed time, with hearts patched together like old clothes passed from sibling to sibling. Our hands knew labor before they knew softness. Still, they searched for each other in crowded rooms, in long bus rides, in the quiet after exhaustion. The rich spoke of love as if it were a luxury: roses, dinners, promises wrapped in silk. But our love was rice shared equally, water saved for tomorrow, and waiting together when the world said no. We loved in whispers, not because love was small, but because the walls were thin and judgment was loud. At night, when the city slept in comfort, we stared at the ceiling and counted hopes instead of stars. We promised nothing we couldn't keep. We swore loyalty, not forever in words, but forever in endurance. If one fell, the other became ground. If one cried, the other learned to be strong. Our love had no photographs, only memories etched into skin and stories told again and again to survive forgetting. We were poor, but our hearts were never empty. They overflowed with wanting, with faith, with the courage to love without safety nets. Love learned to walk with us through markets where prices shouted and our money stayed silent. We memorized numbers not from books, but from calculating what we could not afford. You held my hand not to show the world, but to remind me I was not alone in lacking. Empty pockets made honest lovers. There was no room for pretending, no space to hide flaws behind gifts or grand gestures. We gave time instead, hours stolen from rest, minutes borrowed from fatigue, seconds stretched thin with hope. Dates were sidewalks, bus stops, shared tea cooling between us because heat cost extra. We laughed quietly, not because life was easy, but because laughter was free. Love tasted like leftovers, warmed twice, seasoned with patience and gratitude. When storms came, we counted leaks in the roof and kisses on foreheads as equal forms of shelter. You learned my silences, the kind shaped by disappointment. I learned yours, the kind born from carrying too much. We argued softly, careful not to waste energy. Anger required fuel we could not spare. Even our dreams were modest: steady work, healthy mornings, a room where rain stayed outside. Yet inside those small wishes lived something enormous, a belief that love could outgrow poverty, or at least survive it. The world rushed past us in fast cars and bright clothes, but we walked at our own pace, hand in hand, refusing to let go. Sometimes shame followed us, whispering that love should look richer. We answered by staying. When hunger returned, we fed each other courage. When hope weakened, we became hope. Our love did not glitter, but it endured. Dreams were expensive things, displayed behind glass we couldn't touch. Careers, homes, futures, priced beyond our reach. We learned to dream carefully, cutting desires into smaller pieces so they would not break us when they fell. You dreamed of rest, not vacations, just mornings without fear. I dreamed of stability, a life where love didn't have to fight so hard. Society asked what we planned to become. We answered with silence, because survival took up all the space. Bills arrived like threats, stacked higher than our courage some days. Still, we faced them together, two shadows standing firm against the wall. We were told love is not enough. We agreed. But it was all we had, so we made it work overtime. There were nights when doubt lay between us, heavy as unpaid rent. But even then, we chose each other. Our love aged quickly, wrinkled by responsibility. Yet it grew wiser, learning where to bend and where not to break. We sacrificed pride, sometimes dignity, never loyalty. Friends drifted away, chasing easier lives. We stayed, anchored by shared struggle. Hope flickered often, like a bulb about to burn out. We guarded it fiercely, shielding it from despair. When the world called us failures, we whispered victories to each other, small ones, invisible to outsiders, but enormous to us. Every step forward felt like climbing with bare hands. Every fall taught us how to stand again. Our love did not promise miracles, it promised effort. The world did not cheer for us, it barely noticed. We moved through its edges, uninvited, unseen. Love, for the poor, is often treated like a mistake, as if affection should wait until wealth arrives. They asked why we stayed, as if leaving were cheaper. We faced judgment dressed as advice, pity disguised as concern. People told us love needs money. We showed them it needs courage. We learned to stand tall without standing out, to protect what was ours from opinions that offered nothing. Some days the pressure cracked us. Words became weapons. Silence became distance. But even broken, we did not walk away. You saw me at my weakest. When pride collapsed, when exhaustion spoke for me. You stayed. I saw you fading sometimes, carrying burdens you never named. I stayed. Our love was not perfect. It was patched, repaired, sometimes barely holding. But it was real. We fought poverty, not each other. Even when anger knocked, we redirected it toward the system that starved us. We learned that love, when poor, must be strategic. Every choice mattered. Every mistake cost more. Yet within limitations, we found freedom. The freedom to be honest. The freedom to need each other. The world measured success in possessions. We measured it in survival together. We inherited more than names. We inherited empty hands, tired backs, and unfinished dreams. Our parents loved like this too, quietly, between shifts, inside worries they never spoke aloud. They taught us endurance, not by lectures, but by waking up again after every defeat. Love was modeled in sacrifices, meals skipped, shoes worn thin, dreams postponed forever. We carried their history in our posture, in the way hope bent but did not break us. Sometimes love felt heavy, as if we were holding not just each other, but everyone who came before. We promised ourselves we would love differently, easier, lighter. But poverty does not loosen easily. Still, we tried. We softened where they hardened. We spoke where they stayed silent. We loved with awareness, knowing what lack can do, knowing how quickly comfort disappears. Children watched us closely, learning what love looks like when money is scarce. We showed them hands that stay, voices that don't abandon, hearts that keep choosing. If we could not give them wealth, we gave them examples. If we could not offer ease, we offered honesty. Love became inheritance, not land, not savings, but strength. And maybe, we thought, that would be enough to change the next chapter. Happiness did not arrive loudly. It came quietly, in moments easy to miss. A shared joke after a long day. A meal that tasted better because it was earned. A night without worry, rare and treasured. We celebrated small victories, paid bills, steady work for a while, a problem that waited until tomorrow. Love learned to notice details. The way you smiled when stress loosened its grip. The way silence felt safe instead of empty. We learned joy does not require abundance. It requires presence. A walk with no destination. Music from a neighbor's radio. Rain that cooled the heat without flooding the room. We found beauty in simplicity because complexity was expensive. Love rested where it could, on shoulders, in tired laughter between breaths. When life gave us nothing extra, we gave each other attention. Even pain taught us something. It showed us how deeply we were connected. Our smiles were not careless. They were earned, forged from endurance. In a world chasing more, we learned to value enough. The world rarely studies us. It studies success. It studies wealth. It studies those who escape. But our love had lessons, written in persistence, carved into routine. We learned that commitment is louder when no one is watching, that loyalty is strongest when options are few, that love is not proven by what you give, but by what you refuse to abandon. We became evidence that tenderness can survive pressure, that dignity can exist without money. Our love did not ask for applause. It asked for space to breathe. Even when the world dismissed us, we continued choosing each other, quietly rewriting expectations. We were not inspirational quotes. We were lived truth. When others gave up easily, we held on, not because we were stronger, but because we had learned how. Poverty trained our patience. Love sharpened our humanity. Together, they shaped something unbreakable. Life never promised relief, just pauses between storms. Just when we learned to breathe, another burden arrived, wearing a familiar face. Work disappeared. Health weakened. Hope felt thin again. Poverty does not forget you. It revisits to see if you're still standing. Fear returned at night, asking difficult questions. What if love grows tired? What if staying costs too much? We argued more then, not from hate, but from fear looking for a voice. Some days love felt like effort, heavy and deliberate. Yet even then, we reached for each other. We learned love is not always warm. Sometimes it is discipline. Sometimes it is choosing patience when escape looks tempting. We forgave quickly because resentment was a luxury. We held each other through uncertainty, through fragile mornings, through evenings with no answers. And slowly, without celebration, we endured again. Time passed without permission. Years folded into each other, marked not by milestones, but by survival. We did not become rich. We did not escape completely. But we remained, still here after every setback, still here after doubt tried to divide us. Our love changed shape, less fire, more foundation. Passion softened into trust. Urgency matured into steadiness. We knew each other deeply now, the fears, the limits, the quiet strengths. Love stopped proving itself. It simply existed. We learned peace can be humble. That stability is sometimes invisible. We stopped comparing our lives to other people's highlights. Comparison was another cost we could not afford. We were not extraordinary, but we were consistent. One day, we noticed how far we had come, not in distance, but in depth. Love had left marks on us, not scars, but calluses. Proof of work, proof of care. We had built something unseen, a life held together by choice. There were no monuments, no public recognition, just ordinary days that did not fall apart. Our love became a shelter others leaned on, a quiet example that spoke without words. We learned that love's legacy is not wealth, but memory. The way we treated each other when life was unfair. The way we stayed when leaving was easier. If our story is told, it will not sound glamorous. It will sound honest. Love did not end with us. It moved outward, quietly influencing the space around us. Neighbors noticed our steadiness. Children noticed our patience. Strangers noticed our respect. We did not preach. We lived. In a world loud with ambition, our love spoke softly of care. We helped where we could, shared when possible, listened when nothing else was available. Poverty taught us empathy. Love taught us responsibility. We understood pain without explanation. We recognized struggle in others without judgment. Love became service. not sacrifice that glorifies suffering, but kindness that refuses to harden. We were proof that hardship does not have to erase humanity. Victory did not arrive with trumpets. It arrived unnoticed, blending into routine. One morning, we realized fear no longer led us. It walked behind, quiet, manageable. We trusted ourselves now, not because life became kind, but because we became capable. Love had trained us to endure, to adapt, to remain gentle. We stopped asking when things would change. We focused on how we would respond. And that shift changed everything. The quiet victory was self-respect. The quiet victory was staying human. We had not conquered poverty, but we had not let it conquer us. And that, in its own way, was triumph. If love could speak, it would not boast. It would whisper truths learned in silence. It would say, "I stayed when you doubted. I waited when you were tired. I grew when you had nothing left." Love would admit it was scared too, that it learned bravery by refusing to leave. It would say, "I am not magic. I am work, repeated. I am choosing the same heart on days when it is hardest to choose." If love could speak, it would thank poverty not for the pain, but for the clarity, for teaching what matters when excess disappears. There is no final chapter for love like ours. It does not conclude. It continues, in habits, in memories, in the way we face tomorrow. Even when time slows us, even when strength fades, love remains familiar. It becomes quieter, gentler, less demanding. Poverty may loosen its grip or tighten it again. Either way, love knows the way. We no longer ask what we deserve. We ask what we can give. This love, born in lack, has learned abundance of another kind. And so the story goes on, unwritten, unannounced, real.